The sirens didn't scream. The alarms didn't blare. The sky didn't burn. It was the silence that told the galaxy they had made a mistake. Captain Soravel of the Vakari Command Armada stood frozen. 6 pale fingers clenched around the rail of the bridge as she stared at the dark, dead world below them. Earth, quarantined for nearly 1,000 standard cycles. Uninhabited, according to every databank in the galactic network. A lifeless relic of a species that had, once, dared to defy the collective order. Humans. It shouldn't be this quiet, murmured her science officer, Rinter, his fronds twitching uneasily. They had come on a simple salvage mission. The High Council had finally voted to reclaim the derelict resources of Sol 3. Ancient Terran data caches, alloys, perhaps even surviving biotech. A war grave to most. A treasure trove to the desperate. Soravel hadn't believed in the superstitions. Not really. The stories of Terran rage, their legendary adaptability, their refusal to die. These were myths. Cautionary tales whispered by diplomats and warriors around warm reactors, not real threats. Proceed with Drop Team 1, she ordered, more to dispel the dread creeping into her own bones than anything else. 12 Vakari soldiers descended into the blackened forests of old Canada. What remained of the biosphere was twisted and mutated by centuries of neglect and radiation. But no signs of life. No heat. No sound. No resistance. That was their first mistake. Commander Kale, armored in carbon weave and neural link to the gunship circling above, pushed through the thick ash-coated underbrush. No movement. Readings flatline. This world is dead. But then his lieutenant, Mira, froze. Sir, you hear that? He didn't. Not at first. But then he felt it. Not noise. Not vibration. A presence. Something just beneath the surface of awareness. Like the moment before a predator strikes. Instinct without reason. The ground cracked. Not with tremors, but with intent. One of the soldiers screamed as the roots around his legs moved, snapping closed like jaws. Kale opened fire. Plasma bolts lit the dark trees like firecrackers. Roots writhed, pulsing with bioluminescent veins, recoiling in pain. Not vines. Not tech. Living biodefense systems. And very much awake. Pull back. All units, return to the LZ, he shouted. But it was too late. The trees weren't the worst of it. From the shadows, tall figures emerged. Humanoid. Scarred. Armored not in technology but in hardened bone-like plating. Eyes glowing gold. Humans. Not dead. Not extinct. Evolved. Kale's scream was cut off by the crack of an impact so loud it deafened the team's comms. One by one, their vital signals went silent. On the orbiting ship, Soravel watched as each green icon on the tactical map blinked out. Commander Kale? Report. Kale, respond, she barked. Static. Rinter turned to her, voice shaking. That forest was dead, Captain. But we woke it. We woke them. She swallowed, dread rising. How? They were extinct. The plague wars, the orbital burn. Nothing should have survived. The comm crackled. A single signal forced its way through. You should have let us sleep. It wasn't Kale. It wasn't Vakari. It was a human voice. Male. Calm. Measured. But behind it, a fury restrained only by choice. Soravel's blood ran cold. All ships withdraw. Disengage immediately, she screamed. Too slow. Earth's orbit ignited. Satellites long thought defunct came online. Orbital defense systems, dormant since the last war, locked onto every Vakari ship. Auto turrets. Rail cannons. EMP nets. And then, the real horror appeared. One ship. A Terran dreadnought. Rising from the shadow of the moon. No power signature. No warning. Ancient. Scarred. But alive. It bore the name. ISS Leviathan. The galaxy had forgotten why Earth was quarantined. They were about to remember. In the war chambers of the Galactic Senate, alarms were already ringing. Ambassadors stared in disbelief as their displays updated with impossible news. Human activity detected on Earth. Some laughed. Some panicked. But one elder, a gray-scaled Dravari diplomat, simply closed his eyes and whispered. The humans were never extinct. Just sleeping. And someone had just shaken them awake. The Leviathan didn't speak. It didn't need to. The moment it revealed itself, every ship in the Vakari Armada experienced cascading system failures. Shields blinked off. Weapons powered down. Engines stalled mid-burn. It wasn't an attack. It was a demonstration. Soravel stood rigid, staring at the Terran dreadnought through the reinforced viewport. A vessel older than most civilizations in the galaxy. And it was awake. "Report. What is it doing?" she barked. Rinter's tendrils quivered as he scrolled through real-time data. "It's broadcasting. Low-frequency quantum resonance, buried inside standard command bands. It's not jamming us. It's reprogramming us." "What?" "It's rewriting our system's firmware. One line at a time. Like it knows our ships better than we do." Soravel felt her blood chill. This wasn't war. This was humiliation. They'd poked a sleeping god. On Earth, in the heart of the decaying city of Montreal, the humans moved like ghosts. They were lean, scarred, silent. Years of adaptation had stripped away weakness. No longer the fragile primates the galaxy remembered. These humans had been forged by extinction. The one who called himself Marshal Reich stood at the remains of an old satellite uplink station, repurposed into a war nest. "The stars have forgotten us," Reich said, staring at the crude holographic projection of the Vakari fleet. And in their arrogance, they broke the seal. Beside him, a teenage girl, eyes glowing with faint circuitry, cocked her head. "Should we strike? Or go back to sleep?" Reich looked at her. "You've never seen a war, Mira. Not a real one. If we go back to sleep, they'll return with fire." She nodded. "Then we teach them why they made a rule." In orbit, panic spread. Vakari support vessels collided trying to flee. One ship exploded when its own AI turned hostile, overwritten by the ancient human code. Inside the Leviathan, no lights burned. No signals pulsed. It simply moved, silently shifting across the darkness, a phantom beneath stars. Soravel's flagship, the Radiance, spun helplessly, caught in a gravity snare emitted by the Terran vessel. "Captain, we're receiving a message," Rinter said, almost whispering. "From the surface. Put it through." The view screen lit up. Not with a face, but a phrase. Just 6 words. "You forgot why we were feared." Then the transmission ended, but not before triggering a cascade of awakening. Across Earth, dormant systems blinked to life. Subterranean bunkers opened. Autonomous drones took flight. Orbital rings powered up, previously thought to be space debris. The Vakari weren't facing a primitive, forgotten species. They were facing the last remnants of a hyper-adaptive war machine. And those remnants were angry. On the Senate world of Lurovia Prime, chaos ruled. Representatives from over 70 worlds screamed at each other. Warnings from diplomats, dismissed for decades, were now being retrieved and replayed with religious reverence. A hologram of an old Terran general flickered in the center of the chamber. A recording from nearly 9 centuries ago. "We don't conquer worlds. We outlive them. You call it extinction. We call it hibernation. If ever you breach Earth again, may your children know fear." The Senate erupted. Back on Earth, Reich gathered his people beneath the stars. "We send one message," he said, his voice low but filled with authority. "One strike. A warning. No more. If they persist." A cheer rippled through the survivors. Old weapons were unearthed from cryovaults. Children who had never known peace, only silence, smiled. And above them, the Leviathan opened its ancient weapon bays. One pulse. One beam. A clean, non-lethal electromagnetic burst fired from orbit. 10 Vakari warships went dark. Every system fried. Every screen blank. Not a single life lost. Mercy. The humans had given mercy. But no one believed they would give it again. In the Radiance, Soravel stared at the blank tactical display. Her crew was silent. No one dared speak. The silence was worse than screams. Then, her console flickered back to life. A single feed showed Reich, standing atop a tower of metal and glass, Earth's broken skyline behind him. He looked into the camera. "The rule existed for your protection, not ours. Wake us again, and we won't go back to sleep. Transmission ends." Soravel didn't hesitate. "Plot a course. Full retreat. Mark Earth as red zone. No contact. No approach. Ever." But in the back of her mind, one thought screamed louder than all alarms. They didn't wake all the humans. Not yet. The galaxy had not seen war in 100 years. Not real war. The kind that burned planets, erased histories, and rewrote the meaning of fear. But now, with a single awakening, that era was threatening to return. And no one felt it more than Soravel. The Vakari fleet limped away from Earth. Broken. Shaken. But the damage wasn't just mechanical. It was psychological. Word spread faster than any light signal. Systems began blacklisting Earth. Allied fleets rerouted trade. Civilizations on the outer rim went dark voluntarily. But not all heeded the warning. In a cold chamber orbiting the gas giant Xerion, Admiral Dreth of the Yill Supremacy convened a war council. Tall, mantis-like and bred for arrogance, Dreth paced before a council of generals. We cower before ghosts. Mythical apes in the ruins of their own madness. They are wounded predators, nothing more. And wounded beasts are to be put down. A junior strategist, younger than most of the artifacts in the room, raised a trembling hand. Admiral, the Vakari encountered only one ship. One. And they lost 12 vessels. Dreth hissed. Then we send 100. We strike now before they rebuild. He tapped a talon on the star map. Earth will burn. On Earth. Reich watched their satellites light up. They're coming, Mira said beside him, her eyes glowing brighter. She had integrated herself into the Leviathan's neural matrix days ago. The ship knew her now. It responded to her thoughts. Reich nodded. Let them. The survivors, no humans, were already preparing. It wasn't panic. It was readiness. Weapons repaired. Armor fitted. Subterranean cities reawakened. Earth wasn't a ruin. It was a bunker the size of a planet. And the humans had planned for this day. The Yill Armada broke through the outer Kuiper defense line in minutes. Automated mines disabled. Drone fleets bypassed. The Leviathan didn't fire. It didn't move. It waited. Dreth laughed aboard his flagship. This is your apocalypse. He gave the order. Thousands of plasma warheads descended on Earth. The sky bloomed with artificial fire. Then nothing. The explosions never reached the surface. A shield, invisible and impossibly strong, had caught them. A planetary-scale defense field, built into the bones of the planet. Old Earth tech, long forgotten, long prepared. And then, the humans responded. It wasn't just the Leviathan. 2 more dreadnoughts rose from beneath the ice caps of Antarctica and Greenland. Not flown, grown. Biomechanical hybrids of steel and instinct, built to adapt. They didn't speak. They hunted. The first Yill ship was torn apart by a kinetic spear launched from orbit. No energy signature. No warning. The second was swallowed by what appeared to be a black hole. But wasn't. A localized gravitational disruptor. The third never reported back. Admiral Dreth's fleet was reduced to scrap in hours. And the humans never left orbit. On Earth, Reich stood in the old ruins of a Terran Council hall. Behind him, screens displayed the wreckage now floating in high atmosphere. We didn't strike first, he said, broadcasting to open channels across the galaxy. We warned you. We showed mercy. You mistook silence for weakness. He turned away from the camera. We are awake now. Transmission ends. In the galactic core, panic reigned. The Dravari Senate declared Earth an apex threat system. The Ilari Republic collapsed within a week from internal revolt. Fear spread like wildfire. On distant colonies, children whispered of humans not as monsters, but as inevitabilities. Legends reborn. Back on Earth, the Leviathan returned to rest beneath the shadow of the moon. The other dreadnoughts disappeared into their hidden vaults. The orbital rings shut down. Earth fell silent again. But it wasn't the sleep of death. It was watchfulness. Reich sat beside Mira atop the old world's highest peak. Will they try again? She asked. He nodded. Eventually. And us? What do we do now? He looked at the stars, voice soft. We wait, just like before. And when the stars forget again, we'll remind them. In a quiet sector of the galaxy, buried inside an old archive, a new warning was carved into every known language. Do not disturb Soul 3. Let sleeping gods lie. ***. But legends have gravity. And some fools will always fly too close.